Oh, baby. 48 hours after the U.S. men's national team roster dropped, we still have a lot to talk about. So hit like and subscribe, and let's get after it. Hi, hello, and welcome to your favorite podcast. Call it what you want. I'm your average to good host, Jimmy Conrad, alongside Charlie Davies, who decided to show up today, and Big Tones, Tony Miola. And wow, what a show we have in store for everyone. Flo Balogun has been the mystery man that's been added to the roster, but was he first choice? We'll get into that. We'll talk about transfers because the transfer window is about to come to a close. And then we have a very special guest. Paxten Aaronson is going to join the show in our last block, so it should be a lot of fun. Now, Chuck, you didn't get to join me in Big Tones through the emotional roller coaster of the roster drop 2 days ago, 48 hours. We're still processing it, I think, emotionally. But we don't know where you stand on this roster. But let's start here, though. Flo Balogun, as our resident 9, Flo Balogun has been called in. However, the caveat to Flo Balogun being called in is that Brian White was actually first choice. But because of a hamstring injury, now Flo Balogun comes into the team. Now, fun fact, Flo Balogun has been hurt for pretty much every single part of any camp that Mauricio Pochettino's coach. So he's not actually come in for Mauricio Pochettino, whereas Brian White has been in for quite a few camps. Where are you on this? And then let's just get into the bigger conversation about your roster thoughts.
Well, thanks for having me on the show, guys.
Special guest Charlie Davies.
Yeah. By the way, I was in Montana, Yellowstone. It was much needed. It was great for the soul. But because you got spotty service, you know, I knew the roster was dropping. I was anticipating, excitement. I was thinking Pochettino's bringing in everybody, the best players to kind of re-energize the group and remotivate them and get everybody back on the same page. And finally, that service popped through that one bar, and I got the roster, and I was so underwhelmed. And you both know how I felt about this roster. This, to me, feels a lot like the Gold Cup roster when we got it. And we're talking about September. And we all said after that Gold Cup, after some of the friendlies, that we were going to get – Pochettino had to get back on track. It's enough of the experimenting. He had all summer to experiment with a new group, different formations, different styles, pushing guys in different ways. You saw what you need to see. There's nothing else, okay? It was an underwhelming performance in the end. Now – let's get back. All the European players come back into the picture. And we got more of what we saw in the summer. So I'm left thinking, because there's a lot of contradiction in
Ooh, Big Tones. Chuck's been thinking. Hold on to your butts, everybody. Here
I see the light
Chuck.
above his head right now.
I see it. It got a little bit of steam coming out the ears. Keep going, Chuck.
We know that Pochettino doesn't call these players. So the communication
doesn't call them on the phone or
it doesn't have these type of conversations to say, hey, this is what I'm thinking, and you are not coming, or you are coming, or I'll see you next month, whatever the reason is. Or hey, how do you feel about coming in? Because I'd really love to have you here. Are you in a good mental space? Or do you think you've developed a relationship with the coach? Because remember this, for all the conversations around, I don't want to disrupt them at a new club or they're at a new place. Remember, this is a window where all players leave for international break. So when you stay, you either the coach gives you 3 days off typically, and players travel anyway. So you're off and you're going to spend it, with if you have a significant other, you go travel, or you're training with whatever is left and maybe some academy or reserves, academy kids. So you're not necessarily gaining anything. The only negative when you travel for us as North American players, when you're playing in Europe, is that on the way back, you typically miss a session. But in order to address that, U.S. Soccer has done a great job of, hey, we're going to have a jet ready for you guys right when that last game ends, so you're back for that morning session. So that's not an excuse anymore. Now, are you really going to be able to train and play, or is it more of a walkthrough? Fine, but at least you're there. So now I'm thinking to myself, okay, we have the roster. Tanner Tessman, who Pochettino raved about, he's back playing. He's starting at Lyon. He doesn't get called in. That's a head scratcher for me. And then you're saying, okay, Weston, oh, we're going to leave him for his club situation. His club situation's always been the same. It is what it is. That you know what you get from Weston, and Weston has been at Juve for a long time. And for him not to come into this camp is another puzzling decision. On top of it all, it's South Korea and Japan. These are two opponents that you could likely face in a knockout stage in the World Cup. So quality. And you're not going to get the chance to test your best, your absolute best against that quality. Do we want another Switzerland situation, or do we want another, we're going to defend and because these guys largely are inexperienced at the highest level? For me, it is a missed opportunity is what I'll say. And I'm sure there's certain reasoning around certain guys being left off, but then when you bring Balogun in as a replacement player, my head's kind of exploded. He's that far down the depth chart. You know, this is a player that he had surgeries. The guy was coming back. He had a bum shoulder. It took time to get back. He's at a top club. He's at a Champions League club like Monaco, and all of a sudden, now he's pushed down to the bottom. I'm trying to find the positivity around experimenting this late. We're talking 10 months out from a World Cup, and we're still tinkering. And he should know the player pool by now. He should know the quality of the player pool.
On that, I think it's a nice segue into a quote that Mauricio Pochettino had in his press conference following the roster drop. He said, "We already know Weston. It's not necessary to call him." He did go on, Chuck. He did go on to say that I want him to get settled into his new environment. I know, to your point, it's always been the same for Weston at Juve. So
there's no different environment. It's Juve. The fans know him, the club knows him, the hierarchy knows him, and the players know him. He knows the players. It's not a new environment. And by the way, all those players are gone for international. So what are you gaining while you're staying training with reserves?
Academy kids. I get it. I think it makes sense for Johnny Cardoso. Right? Johnny Cardoso makes sense. And I felt like he lumped Weston McKennie into that same part of the conversation with Johnny. And Johnny is definitely in a new environment. Clearly, Pochettino and Diego Simeone are close. They played together on that Argentina national team. There might have been a conversation like, hey, let's just keep him here. I want to keep him here. Don't need him to travel a ton. We got some big games coming up, whatever. And those conversations could be potentially happening with Igor Tudor at Juventus, manager there. But it doesn't sound like Mauricio Pochettino is calling too many people. Big tones, managers or players like. So talk to me about this Balogun situation. And I kind of want to throw it through the lens of, do you think there was a lot of damage done in the Nations League? You know, when you coached, Big Tones, or even when you played, you knew when you let down the coach and you could feel it. And all of a sudden, maybe he doesn't trust you in the same way. And I feel like
Balogun wasn't there.
That's what I'm saying. I know he wasn't there.
Back. So there's not a bigger player that let you down than Sargent in that, and he's back. So
okay,
that excuse has to be gone.
Sure, okay, but I still feel like, okay, we're talking that's from a striker position, but I would say, I don't know. I'm trying to use that as something about the roster. Like, did a couple of guys he needs to see a couple other outside of the bubble, normal bubble guys, just to make sure, or put the other guys on notice that nothing's guaranteed. Where are you on this? And I guess Balogun is this as your lead there.
Yeah, let me do big picture first and go back to Tuesday. At the end, I said we're going to hear more about why some of these guys aren't here, right? Because we were thinking of excuses for them all. Like Johnny Cardoso, for me, has sort of you mentioned it, right? Has sort of the best rationale, if you will, of an excuse to not bring him in. New club, massive club, needs to settle in, so you don't bring him in, right? So then we hear it about Weston McKennie first. But you can go down and make the same argument for Yunus Musa, for Ricardo Pepi just coming back. The one I said at the end of the show on Tuesday would come in, I thought Haji Wright. But now I'm thinking to myself, Haji Wright, he already knows Haji Wright. He's just telling us he already knows players. So with regard, how I circle this back to Balogun, right, it looks, no doubt it looks, I'm trying to give another sort of side of the story. It looks like Brian White ahead of Balogun, right? Or was it Brian White? Balogun was never coming in. Brian White gets hurt. And now it's like, I got to find another player right now that's on my list. Let me go to somebody that I haven't seen before. Balogun is the guy. We wanted to call him in, but we weren't going to. So I don't look at it as Brian White ahead of Balogun. I looking at this camp and this roster. If we thought this was the first team roster announcement, the big group, right? Let's call the A group just for argument's sake. And Balogun wasn't there and Brian White was there, I can understand. For sure it would look that way. I didn't see it that way. I saw it as I got to bring another guy in and I need another forward. I got to replace another forward. So let me go to the next guy that we need to look at right now. How this turns out in the end, Jimmy, you asked me at the end, when did you think Pochettino was going to narrow down? And I said, well, I thought it was going to be September camp is when everyone was going to start coming in. But now it's October camp. Pochettino, for me, has set himself up with that press conference to say October is when I start bringing my best players in. And from that, so that would give us, what did we say, 6 games?
Now it would be down to 6 games. Yeah.
Down to 6 games. I don't like it
Okay.
personally, but that's where we're at right now.
That's what I wanted to hear is why minimize the amount of time that you get with your best group. And he says he wants to see new faces. These aren't new faces. He's had these guys for a month. He had these guys at Gold Cup. Who's a new face? Maybe, okay, Zendejas. You finally brought him in.
Tristan Blackman.
Tristan Blackman.
Zawatsky.
And who?
Zawatsky.
Blackman, Zawatsky,
Celentano.
And Klinsman.
Noah Kai Banks.
Has he had Dest? Noah Kai Banks. Has he had Dest in camp?
He hasn't had Dest in camp. There's quite a few, actually, Chuck. But I understand where you're
There's a handful. There's a handful. And goalkeeper, I mean, that's wide open anyways. So I'm not really counting those players in particular because you're a goalkeeper coach. You're saying, okay, Fries was our starter at Gold Cup. He came out of nowhere. He's our guy now, but he's a starting goalkeeper in MLS. Matt Turner came back from the Revs and he's finally got into a groove and he's performed better. But ultimately, it's wide open. It's almost the Wild Wild West. So let's get as many goalkeepers as we can that are playing to give them a shot and see how they are, especially just in training. They don't have to play in the matches. So I have no problem with that. But we're talking everywhere else around the roster. And so, there's some contradiction versus, guys that have asked for breaks, let's say Yunus Musa, who finally came out and said, hey, I needed a mental break. Same thing as Christian. However, it's funny because it was posed as personal reasons, right? Versus Christian's, he doesn't want to come and play. And they asked for the same thing. The same thing. Tyler Adams was even in that conversation because he had it with us. Hey, I need a break. I'm worn down, but I'm still going to come in. Even though I didn't play well and I was, just hanging in there. He even told us I wasn't feeling great. So you have that versus a guy like Josh Sargent, who I think absolutely deserves to get called in. So don't take that out of context. But he's someone who let down Pochettino in the Nations League as getting his opportunity, and he didn't do well. But he's brought back in. So I don't want to hear the excuses of, some of these guys didn't do it in the Nations League and they let Pochettino down, because that's example number one of not doing it, but getting another chance because he's performing. Guys like Tessman, who thrived before that Nations League, probably didn't perform all that well, but I mean, who did? But he's playing at Lyon. That's a high-ass level. Like, where do we get to the point of, I've seen them before? He's seen all these guys before, but get the best group in to compete for places and to build some sort of chemistry and rhythm. That for me this is a missed opportunity to bring in Johnny Cardoso. I know he just went to Atletico Madrid, but all the guys end up leaving anyways.
Okay, so I hear you on that. It would have been nice to see from a Johnny perspective, Chuck. It would have been nice to clearly he's got some confidence and some momentum. Let's bring him in and see what that looks like playing for the national team. It would be nice to kind of parlay some of that momentum he's clearly built and confidence that comes with it. The one thing I want to talk about and explore here, and Tones, I want your first comments on this, is there seemed to be a malaise that crept into this group, right? That Greg Berhalter ultimately created a group of untouchables, that they were going to get called in no matter what. And I wonder if Mauricio Pochettino picked up on that, or there was some communication from U.S. Soccer that hey, this is what it's looked like over the last, and these guys are starting to get too comfortable. Or maybe this is just Mauricio Pochettino's coaching staff. These guys are just too comfortable. And I got to mix it up a little bit. I got to keep them on their toes. He's hinted at that. You can hear him say it in some different ways. I want guys that are going to fight. They're going to be hungry.
Hence the no communication, right?
No communication. I don't need to be buddies with these guys. I'm not a mannequin. Like, there's all these little, if you start taking his little bits and pieces of his phrases, there's clearly some method behind his madness. And so, and I think part of it is making everybody feel a little bit uncomfortable and with their standing and where do they fit into the puzzle.
Hey,
now we don't know if that's going to work out or not. We don't know if it's going to work out or not. But
I got to address this comment. I got to address this comment. My meniscus hurt. He says Cardoso has had momentum for a couple of years and does nothing for the U.S. men's national team. Well, go down the list. I mean, Josh Sargent probably number one, because Josh Sargent talked about momentum at the club level. He's got Bundesliga clubs offering bids that are accepted. He's staying. He's made team of the year. It doesn't get any better for him at this stage of his career, given the league he's playing in, making team of the year, having an impact like that, and then coming to the national team and that not working out. It's not translating his club form and his national team form. So that's that. I mean, to say something like that, of course, we can all say Cardoso, when he played at Betis, we'd say, man, this guy is playing in La Liga. He's in the Conference League, killing it. This is a guy that's really grown and shown that he can perform at a high level. But every time in the national team, it's been too slow. The decision-making has been off. You can go down the list. But look at all these guys. You can say a number of these players, you're saying, man, with the national team, the form has dipped considerably. And I saw another comment in here saying, hey, Charlie, how'd it go with these guys playing at Copa America and Nations League, this same group? Pochettino didn't have these players during that time. He wasn't coaching in those competitions. The whole reason of bringing Pochettino is take that same group and get them to perform better, whether that's a formation change, whether that is, tinkering with a player here or there and changing it.
Quality.
The whole idea is for Pochettino to take the best players from that the 2022 World Cup group and implement some new players, because that was a young national team that was supposed to finally get that experience to excel in 2026, but to make them better, not to bring in a roster of MLS players and say, we're going to bring in a new group and discredit everything that has already been built in the previous cycle and move on. No, it's to make what we have already better, to compete to the highest degree and eventually hopefully get to a quarterfinal. That's the idea.
I feel like that's what he's trying to do. Basically, he's said that he's evaluating 60 to 65 players. And Tones, if you know that you have that many players at your disposal, you're looking at that many, you're clearly trying to find the right mix or balance of what you have and what you think you need to create the best environment to have the most success in the tournament. I'm trying to trying to balance out the Chuck's emotional right now. So I'm trying to balance that out a little bit. And Chuck, we were emotional on the last one, so we've kind of worked through it a little bit more. You're still working through it, but yeah, I still feel like there's definitely a method to this and what he's doing, or at least I'm hoping there is, because otherwise, what the hell are we even talking about? but I'm trying to, because the guy's been around, he knows what he's doing, he's had success, so I'm gonna lean into his previous experience as a manager, but. Yeah,
so
go ahead.
To your question, I think you were leaning towards, the group was set up in a way where guys knew they were coming in, right? Leave everybody uncomfortable a little bit. If you take this job, and by the way, I'm laughing inside, I have to tell you, because Charlie went on this Zen trip. He was out in the woods and like all his buddies, and he just told us before the show how relaxing it was, and boom, within 10 minutes, my man just blew his whole trip right there. But anyway.
I can imagine sitting in some porta potty, all frustrated, looking at his phone. Can't find any toilet paper. Balogun's not on the roster. Sargent's there. He's all mad.
One name showing up at a time on his phone because the internet's so slow. But to your point, like if you took the job, like wouldn't you ask a bunch of people in U.S. soccer? Like if I took the job, I'd go to Gooch and to whoever, Matt Crocker, whoever was around the team, go, okay, what's the problem with the team? What do you guys think was the problem? They were too comfortable. Too many, not enough guys got opportunity. Nobody's pushing you from behind. Like you'd have to ask all those questions, I would think, unless he just doesn't talk to anybody and that's it. He just goes about his own. He doesn't talk to players, doesn't talk to administrators, just his assistant coaches. But I'm I lean where you are, Jimmy. I think part of this is to make people uncomfortable. We think about the conversations the three of us and all the guys working on the show were having about this camp with Christian Pulisic. Like, is he going to call Christian Pulisic back? Like, some people would go, yeah, absolutely, you call him back. He's your best player. And we saw all of that. And there would be other guys that go, no. He didn't come in the summer, so I'm not calling him back here for one camp. I'm basically going to punish him, right? That's basically what you're saying.
What good is that going to do? You know what I mean?
It doesn't do any good, right? That's my point for us. But I'm saying there's a manager out there that would have said, no. He let us down once. I feel like he let us down, and I'm going to leave him off of camp. Now we find out Musa basically did the same thing. Is everybody up in arms the same? Whatever stance you took on Christian, I think you got to take the same stance with Musa. But I think in his case, Pochettino now says he's unsettled at his club. He's not playing. He's about to move potentially to a new club. Let me give him some time. That's how I feel now. After hearing the Weston thing, I bet if he was asked and honestly answered about all those players, he'd have the same type of rationale for every one of those players. We put it together the other day, Charlie. I don't know if you saw it. We had the list of guys that the projected 11 we thought for this camp and the projected 11 of the guys that aren't in camp. And we weren't quite sure who was going to win the game in that one.
Yeah.
When you look at that roster.
Yeah. We'll have to show that to you a little bit later, Chuck, so we can get your 2 cents on that. All right, we're going to take our first break and call what you want. When we come back, we're going to dive into some more comments from Mauricio Pochettino at his press conference. And then, just as a reminder, Paxten Aaronson is joining the show in a little bit.
Whoa. Can we also address just how the roster is built? You brought 3 right backs, 1 left back.
Well, one of them might be playing left back. And Max Arsene isn't a left back, so there's still a left back conversation. Serginho just played left back for PSV this past weekend. There's still possibilities out there, Chuck. All right, we're taking our break. Don't go anywhere. Keep it right here.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more.
It's Gareth Bale! Ronaldo! Wonderful goal!
On the UEFA Champions League channel. Streaming free.
So great to have Chuck back with us. Our emotional core, Chuck. We really appreciate it. So you know,
is no one feeling the same way that I feel at this stage?
Yeah, 2 days
you're
ago.
48 hours late, dude.
You're 48 hours. Yeah,
you're so far behind. It's not even behind.
You know what? I was at such a deep level of peace. I was, and now there's my chest is so tight. I'm getting more agitated as we continue to talk about how this roster was built.
I thought you were about to say testicles. Did anyone else feel that way? That's what I thought you were saying.
I only have one. It can't be. I wouldn't be talking about both, you know?
All I know is there's someone in the chat now, and their username is Chuck's dad. And I absolutely started laughing just thinking about it in the first part of the show. Chuck's dad's now in the chat. He's entered the chat. I love that. So shout out to whoever made that username, Chuck's dad. That is amazing. Okay, so there was talking about emotion. There was a quote from Mauricio Pochettino about Big Tones. Coming to you first on this one. From that said this about MLS. Okay, he's like, I don't think it's necessary to move from MLS to Europe because sometimes MLS, in my assessment, is more competitive than some leagues in Europe. We have some players competing in different leagues that maybe are not so competitive. When I hear that, I think he's talking about the Eredivisie. He's talking about PSV.
That's the first one that comes to mind. That's the first one that comes to mind.
PSV, we have a couple Americans at PSV. They're just dunking on everybody all the time. But Champions League, they clearly held their own and had some good performances. And Lee Tillman made a $40 million move based on his performance last year at PSV to go to Bayer Leverkusen. But I feel like that's for me where the league he's talking about first and foremost. I don't know, but overall, what do you think about this comment?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's going to get people rankled, right? But I'll go to my grave saying the same thing. The people who hate MLS the most live in America. The people who have the least respect for the league, they live in America. They don't live around Europe. If you talk to scouts, they're scouting here all the time because they think players are being developed all the time here. But I think he's talking about the Eredivisie. He's talking about Scotland. He's not talking about he's not talking about La Liga.
The Big Five. He's not talking about the Big Five.
Yeah, he's not talking about those leagues. I don't know if anyone followed up with the question, okay, well, which leagues is MLS better than, right? I do think you're better off playing than being in any of those leagues not playing and sitting around like Gio for 2.5 years. I'm glad he finally found a spot, and he's going to hopefully play. We don't know what it's going to look like, but we think he's going to get in there and play based on them spending money for him. But he kind of neutralized it when he said, in my assessment, because then it's his opinion at the end. We just agree with his opinion or we don't, right? So, I mean, we all have an opinion on all of this stuff.
Don't you wonder if he thinks the same thing about the championship? Does he think the EFL championship is better than MLS? Would you say it is?
I would think he would think that that's one of the leagues too. I would, when
he thinks MLS is better than EFL, is what you're saying.
I think overall, yeah.
So,
I mean,
look,
we just saw
where's it put a guy like Aiden Morris? Where is it?
Well, he didn't call him in,
right?
Well, yeah. And we could argue Aiden Morris's replacement on the Columbus Crew, Sean Sawatsky, did get called in. So clearly there's some value there. I got a couple more of these quotes from this just to give everybody some more context. Pochettino also said, we need to give MLS the value because competing there, I think the players can show they can perform in the national team. Okay, that's one. Here's another one. He said, for me, I think we need to open up another way to see the things. All right. We don't use the comparison. If you play in a team in Europe, you're above the players that are in the MLS. That is not the way to assess the player. And I agree with that. I mean, there's some value there in terms of, can this guy just fit into my puzzle? Does he make good soccer decisions on both sides of the ball? And yes, okay, at some point, when you do assess, you have to value the type of competition he's playing against. There's no question. I'm not saying that shouldn't be part of the equation. But if you think that somebody that is playing well at a particular level, could be MLS, Eredivisie, Belgian League, Scottish Premiership, Scandinavia, top 5 European leagues, and you feel like they can fit into what you're trying to do, then that's the sense that I get. I'm really trying to look at this from Mauricio Pochettino's angle and his coaching staff as much as possible. And he also mentioned, I don't know if we said it in the first part, that this was essentially the last camp where we're going to see a whole bunch of new faces, that come October, things are going to be whittled down. We'll wait to see. Proof's in the pudding, but we'll have to wait and see. Tones, when you were doing I'm kind of curious, using your own youth national team experience as a coach, you obviously had a big player pool to choose from. You probably knew the players you were going to call in, but you also wanted to give room for players that you hadn't seen yet, but you'd heard some things and that you'd seen them play and think, hey, maybe they would fit in, even though they might not fit the mold or they weren't playing in Europe. They just came from, quote unquote, an academy here in the States.
Yeah, but you remember the youth national team is a little bit different, right? The roster, I would say 25 to 30% of the rosters changed every camp because you're basically trying to build a pool, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to figure out who are the best players, and so little separates some of those players. Of course, every age group has like the special kid who and doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that they're better than the other kids. But when you think about the margins at the second half of your roster, it changes all the time, right? And because the younger you get, the way the cycles go in the youth national team, the kids that are born in January are generally more developed than the kids that were born in December. Right. And it means a lot, especially when you're talking about 14 and 15-year-old kids. So it's maybe not the best comparison, but I know you're going with it. But there it's about building a pool of players. And then, of course, the U17s and the U20s have a World Cup attached to it, right, at the end. And that's where you start narrowing down the pool. But with the youth national teams, man, we did tournaments. I remember we went one tournament in Russia and the other one, I think, was in Norway. And the two same age group, like 2 months apart, the roster looked completely different.
Yeah.
We won one and we got to the finals. The other one lost to Russia, I think, in penalty kicks in that one. But it was, you're gonna get multiple changes. But actually, it looks like our full national team.
There we go. So maybe the comparison was apt, all things considered.
It's always, if you look at a U17 pool for the most part, and then you go fast forward to the Olympic team, it's completely new team. Maybe you have one or two of the same, But
Well, take Italy, Charlie. When Del Piero was in that group that got to, I don't know if they got to the finals or they won the U17s. He was the only player in that group that's ever played in Serie A. That played in Serie A, like not in their domestic league. You know what I mean? Like, and of course he was different. He was different than other players. I think we saw that now. But so yeah, it changes so much.
And this is the thing for me. We're talking about the EFL Championship or leagues just in general in Europe that aren't as good as MLS. And I look at a player like Aiden Morris, who was dominating with the Columbus Crew as a central midfielder, and says, I need to leave MLS to get better so that I can be a part of the national team. That's the only reason he left. Make more money, but most importantly, play with the national team in a World Cup to get better. And he goes and he plays in the championship consistently as a starter under Michael Carrick, right? So he's got a coach, a manager who's actually had a successful career in his position. And he is now not only is he getting overlooked, but you have a player who's playing at the Columbus Crew and Sean Zawatsky, who plays center back for the team at times, and they play with a back three, and he's obviously not a center back, but even so, is not at the level of Aiden Morris and getting called in. So now you're saying, well, why did I leave in the first place? Why did I go to Europe? So now Pochettino is almost changing the narrative. If you go to Europe, you can only go to A, B, C, D, E, which is La Liga, Premier League, Serie A, Bundesliga, Liga. That's it. Not even Liga. Mark McKenzie's not even getting a look at this stage, right? So you're wondering what is the criteria for Pochettino?
So can we go back to this quote? Because I think it's interesting and could maybe tell a bigger story. It's about Weston. I'm going to say the quote again. We said it before. He said, we already know Weston. This is Mauricio Pochettino. We already know Weston. It's not necessary to call him. And so when you talk about criteria, Chuck, I wonder if he already has a list of guys that he knows where they're going to fit and where he sees them in the pecking order. He doesn't need to see them anymore. Now, Flo Balogun is still a bit of a surprise that he wasn't on the original roster because he actually hasn't seen Flo Balogun yet. Balogun hasn't been a part of any Mauricio Pochettino camps.
So that takes the narrative away. So
a little bit, but
Christian takes the narrative away too, right?
There's contradictions all over the place.
I agree with you, but I wonder if, but with Weston, we know he's going to be a part of the World Cup roster. It's undeniable. I don't know what,
but do we? Like, I'm not 100% willing to say that we know.
I will. I'll put my flag on the ground. Weston's going to make the World Cup roster. Congratulations, Weston. We can't wait to see you play in the World Cup this summer.
Is he a guaranteed starter?
Okay, I didn't say that.
That's a different story, right?
All right, but is he a starter? Is he a starter?
I don't know yet. I don't.
Do you think do you think he's starting in the first game of the World Cup?
I'm not convinced that he's starting. But I've been saying
I'm
this
not
forever.
Convinced he started either. But he's on the roster. I put my flag on the ground on that one. He's going to be in the team. I think it's a guarantee with. I don't know if he's a starter though. Listen, I'd like to see who our opponents are first. Obviously, I can't wait till that World Cup draw happens. But
isn't it more important how Poch wants to play? Like,
and who the opponent is, right? I think that's going to factor into his roster or his starting 11 selection as well. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know that it's going to change his formation once we get to the World Cup. It might change some personnel, but I don't know that you're going to change formations, at the World Cup. You generally don't see a lot of that from national teams.
He's saying he's seen certain players. He's only coached the national team for 16 games. This isn't Pochettino who's had the cycle for 3 years, and he's saying, "Hey, I've had him in different tournaments. I've seen him in different scenarios." He has not had enough time with these guys, regardless if he knows them or not.
Let's use your U10 team as a test here. If you had 16 games when let's say your player pool was 4, you don't need 16 games to know who your guys are, do you? Who your kids are, and do you think you need 16 games?
Hell no.
To figure you probably need what? Maybe 5?
I'll tell you right now. if I had a month with players, which he did with the Gold Cup, you have everything you need. You don't need any more tests. You know what you got at the moment. You know where they are. Now, if you said 6 months from there, how do they progress? Then you could say, okay, maybe they've changed quite a bit because they took that experience and they built off of it because I had certain demands, or maybe they were lacking something and you told them to work on it. They went back to their club, and 6 months later, then you saw the growth. But to tell me what you saw a month in the summer and now you're calling them back in September because you said I need to see them, that to me is not necessary. And it goes back to, we're wasting this for me in my perspective. They're wasting this window to bring in your best players to figure out, okay, what's the best rhythm? Because like he says, he knows Weston. Yeah, okay, you know him. So is he either that good? He's quality enough to say, you know, you're going to bring him. So is he a starter or not? That's what you need to figure out. How does he fit in with Tessman? How does he fit in with Cardoso? How does he fit in with Tyler Adams? Does he see him at that level or not? And for me, that's why you'd want to bring him in. If you told me right now, Berhalter, Delatorre, Zawadzki, McGlynn, are any of those guys better than Tessman, Cardoso, or McKennie? Would you take any of them right now over those three?
No,
based on
that
quality, right? I'm not taking any of the other intangibles, right? Of locker room guy, how they train, what they bring to the group. I'm just saying, when we see them at their very best, at their peak, and we expect Pochettino to get these guys to play at their peak. Otherwise, you say, hey, this guy's mentality, it's not good enough. He's been coasting, and I'm not calling him in until he proves that he's going to bring it every day when he comes to the national team. And this whole lazy narrative for some of these guys, I'm just saying, if that's the case, then that's what I need to stamp out. That for me is where we're at.
We didn't add this into the Weston conversation, but we should have. That Mauricio Pochettino did mention he didn't get a proper break with the Club World Cup, so that was another factor in the decision making and leading Weston at home. But I still think that it's interesting that, okay, he knows Weston, he knows what he brings, and I wonder what that list looks like for him and his coaching staff. Okay, we know what these, let's say, 20 players are about and where I think they can fit in the puzzle. Doesn't mean they're going to be the best fit yet. Like Balogun, he doesn't know yet. He hasn't been around Balogun yet, and I know it seems to be, and it should be, very important to have that personal interaction to see how this player trains, how they carry themselves, how they fit in with the group, all the intangibles that are important as you try to build a team. So
I guess let's just throw in Patrick Agyemang, for instance. You're playing in the Gold Cup. You're in MLS. You are playing every week. That phone call comes, hey, your agent, hey, a number of championship clubs are after you, and a bid was just accepted. Wouldn't you have the presence of mind to go, Pochettino, should I make this move? Do you think this is a good move? Do you think this will elevate my game? Will this put me in a better position? Or to what we were just talking about, Pochettino goes, I don't rate the EFL championship, and I think you should stay where you're at. Did that conversation happen?
Well, clearly he doesn't talk to anyone, so why would you ask him?
That's true.
But that's literally true. Somebody who Pochettino trusted and has delivered when he's played under Pochettino for the most part. At least that's what Mauricio has kind of given off. And so now you have this player moving to a league that you think is not good.
Yeah,
it's tricky.
We hear you, Chuck. All right, we're going to take our last break and call it what you want. We're going to get into our big transfer market conversation about Americans overall in the history of transfer markets. We're going to save that for next week because we have a very special guest joining us right after this. Paxten Aaronson comes on the show. We can't wait to talk to him. Keep it right here. Okay, welcome back in to Call It What You Want. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Tony Miola and Charlie Davies. And guys, we were very excited to book this guest on the show because he made a very significant move from Eintracht Frankfurt to the Colorado Rapids in MLS. 22-year-old midfielder, was part of the Gold Cup roster, and we just think he's got a bright future. We're very excited to have him and talk to him. Paxten Aaronson, welcome. Great to see you, as always. Looking sharp this morning.
Thank you.
So Paxten, you've had a busy couple days. What's been happening? Catch us up on all the good news.
So yeah, I landed on last Wednesday, did my medical Thursday, first training with the team Friday, then flew to LA and made my debut for the Rapids. And then this has been the first week where I've actually gotten settled down, kind of find my feet, train with the team, look for apartments, all that good stuff.
Yeah, how's that process been, especially kind of moving from the European experience back to the States?
Yeah, I think it's different, but I got to experience it when I was way younger, so I'm way more familiar with it than.
But now you're a grown ass man, Paxten. It's different when you're a grown ass man.
You can hear it. You can hear it in his voice. He's got like a deeper voice now. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's true. I would say that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. 22 as a grown ass man. That's that might be. All
right. You're getting there.
Yeah.
So Paxten, kind of walk us first off. Congratulations. And by the way, I for those who maybe didn't see your press conference, kind of walk us through like the first time you're in Europe. You're obviously on loan. Had a great season last year. Everyone thinks you're going back to Frankfurt, and you now make this decision. Kind of walk us through from like the first day someone calls you, your agent, someone from whoever it was, and they're like, okay, there's a chance for you to go to the Colorado Rapids. Like from that to how you eventually get to Colorado.
Yeah, well, I'll take you back even before it. After my season at Utrecht, I kind of was feeling great after that season, and I knew that the next step with the World Cup coming and all of what had happened last year, I know I needed to go to a club where I could do exactly what I did last year. So my agents and myself and Frankfurt, we were all open with each other and said, like, look, if Frankfurt can't provide that, then let's work on something, and maybe it's going back to Utrecht. And they said, yeah, let's come back to Frankfurt, see how it goes in preseason, all of this stuff. And yeah, I was open to it because a club like Frankfurt, if I can go and impress and play there, then yeah, it's like the pinnacle. It's a Champions League club, top 5 league. So I was going to try to go there and make the best of it. And then I think as the preseason went on, me and the club kind of mutually agreed that they probably couldn't give me the minutes that were beneficial for me, especially after the season I had last season. So it was kind of mutual to start looking for other clubs and probably find a solution. And my agents did a great job. But yeah, I wasn't even expecting to kind of come back to MLS. It wasn't in my mind till my agent called me and said, yeah, Colorado are interested. They have an open spot, all this stuff. And then kind of got down to it. They came back with some serious interest. And then what really kind of turned my head is when I had the phone call with the Colorado staff and Chris, and kind of the idea that they proposed to me, I think was something unique where I don't even think a lot of European clubs can offer what they offered me in terms of coming to a new challenge. Wearing the number 10, kind of coming into a team where I can, influence. And I think for me, that's a different aspect of my game where I haven't been able to kind of work on. And I think it'll bring out different sides of me that I think I know will get the best out of me, kind of freedom on the field, free flowing, and kind of giving the green light to try stuff. And I think that's what really intrigued me.
I mean, it probably helps a little bit too, that one, you're counted on. They're saying, hey, Paxten, you're going to be our franchise. Essentially, you're expected to deliver. We're going to pay you handsomely, but you got to bring it every week to help us grow. Did a part of you also think with Pochettino, the way he's kind of framed things now, that no matter where you're playing, if you're playing well, especially in MLS, I will call you in. Did that also help this decision to make it a little bit easier for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think, like you said, I knew I couldn't go somewhere where I wasn't going to play. And yeah, of course, nothing's ever guaranteed in life or in soccer, but I knew coming up with the World Cup, and like you said, especially how Pochettino speaks about the MLS, and just, when you look at the rosters he selects, I know that MLS, you don't have a big red X next to your name. So yeah, that was definitely a part of it.
Okay, so Paxten, I assume your family is part of your circle of trust when you're making big decisions. And so using your family as the context for this question, your brother, Brenden, plays at Leeds. kind of in and out of the team, not maybe playing as much as he would like, to be the guy that I'm sure he wants the same opportunity. He wants to wear the number 10 shirt and be the guy and be a player that the offense or the attack is built around. Does his experience or his insight or feedback, did that inform maybe part of your decision to come back and say, hey, this is a good opportunity for me to kind of spread my wings? And that way I'm not kind of stuck on benches or having to go out on loan again and having to reset every year when Eintracht maybe isn't giving me the opportunities I deserve.
Yeah, I mean, we never really spoke about that, but I kind of just take in every glance. And yeah, I mean, my brother's a huge part of my life, and seeing his career, he's had so many ups and downs. Same with me. I've been on loan 2 seasons in a row, haven't really been able to settle down. But I think also when you look on the other side of it, it can form a player. Like when he goes on loan to Union, it doesn't really work out. He comes back to Leeds and has a fantastic season and gets promoted. And now this season, like you said, he's kind of fighting again. And these are the kind of things that happen, I would say, in Europe more so. But it can also shape a player. But then he totally understood me coming back and the opportunity that they presented. He said, yeah, I think it's so unique, and you have to listen to it and consider it.
So you talk about this, you mentioned the project a couple times in your press conference, right? And how they sold you on this from a personal standpoint. Obviously the roster just came out. We know that you're not on this roster. You mentioned the national team being important. Like you're clearly going to benefit the Colorado Rapids, but you want to grow your game. What in your game do you think needs to grow from here to get you to where you want to be at that next level?
I would say decisiveness and 100% confidence in and around the box. I think I showcased it last year in the Netherlands, but I think even more so, if I was more composed in and around the box, I probably could have double-digited my goals. I've always been good at getting chances and being in the right positions, but I think having the freedom here to kind of just relax and be able to assess everything, where sometimes last year I felt myself, you guys know it, when you're in and around the box, you can try to rush things because there's so many different players running at you and all these kind of things. So I think just settling down and focusing on these attributes, and working on little things, free kicks, set pieces, just really achieving and maturing in those aspects, I think can get me to the top level.
So I'm curious, Paxten, because I've seen your growth. I got to play with your brother, and I got to see, a young Brenden just coming through the scene and then it flourishing, right?
Yeah.
You go to Europe, you get the big move to Frankfurt, and you, like you said, you go to the Eredivisie, you're fighting. But then this past season at Utrecht, you literally took off. You were a big player. Do you feel that the Eredivisie, you've seen it now, is comparable with MLS? Is it as challenging? Is it maybe just 4 or 5 teams, and then there's a massive drop off? And how have you grown throughout this loan year?
Hey, Chuck, put some respect on Go Ahead Eagles. Okay, they won the cup.
Hey, I swear this team, they play like Barcelona in the Dutch league. They're a really good team. But no, that's a good question. I think, like you said, the top 6 teams in the Dutch league, 7 teams are like top. Like when you play them, you feel the difference of the intensity of just the atmosphere, the quality of the players. And then you also see the transfers that the top 6 clubs make. Like AZ, their transfer window this past summer was just unbelievable, the talent that they produce. But then I think, as you go down, the quality of the teams, I think the standard in the MLS of across the league is probably more fair. The top 6 kind of dominate the Netherlands, where the bottom have a harder time. I think it is similar in playing style. I think in terms of possession based, it's not like full press every game, the entire 90 minutes. So it's a little bit reserved in that aspect, where Germany's just 90 minutes full gas. Don't even look. You just sprinting at the guy in front of you. So I think there's definitely comparisons in terms of how they play and the quality.
All right, so Paxten, this is the big question for us that we had over the summer. Charlie's been claiming forever that he could beat Jack McGlynn in a 30-yard race. and so given that you spent the summer with Jack McGlynn, and this is Chuck now, by the way. It's not Chuck
Paxten,
at his peak.
you don't know how important this answer is.
This is a really important
answer.
answer.
You have no idea how.
Who do you think would win in a race between Charlie Davies?
We're talking 20 yards. 20 yards.
Yeah, I'm giving it to Charlie. I always I always give
Come on,
Jack.
Paxton.
Well, Jack's my best friend, so he'll probably send me this later and talk a lot of shit. But he knows every time I rip on him, I tell him how slow he is. So
see, it's a known thing. But obviously, he's a wizard with his left foot. But what I'm saying is, when you're throwing out Jack McGlynn as a winger at the international level, I said, come on, let's be real. Talking about running by guys. That's how it came.
Honestly, I'll give him credit. I think he has gotten faster. I think he's been doing some speed drills or whatnot. But when I first came into the league with him when we were 16, it was so funny. Everybody in the locker room would just tell him how slow he is. But he makes up, like you said, he makes up for it with other attributes like that left foot.
Yeah.
This conversation went from 40 yards to 30 yards. Now we're doing 20 yards.
Yeah,
really good. I get the
shorter
hamstring is going to go after 20 yards.
After 25, it gets a little rickety, you know? So,
yeah. Don't want to pull a hamstring.
No.
Pax, I'm curious, where for you, like what's the best position for you? Like where do you like to operate them? I mean, we see you play obviously in a few different positions, but like in what formation, what position is like sort of best suits you in your mind?
I just like 4-3-3, like left center mid, like a number 8. I think that's where I did all my work. The 2 seasons in the Netherlands, that's where I improved my game the most. I think it gives me the ability to win balls. I think I'm always better when I'm just in and around the game. Sometimes when I'm playing like a really high position, it's hard for me to find the game. So I kind of like when the game just finds me, when maybe we don't have the ball as much, but I can tackle guys, win the ball, and then transition, and then join the box late. I think that's my highest quality.
Paxton, was there a specific coach or teammate in Europe who challenged you in ways that, you know, you maybe made you change the way you see the game?
Yeah, I think my first coach I had at Eintracht Frankfurt, Oli Glasner, he's at Palace now. Yeah, it was just such a big step when I went from Union straight to Frankfurt, but he did such a good job of, comforting me, but also, you know, putting in such high demand. I think he taught me so many different aspects of like little things, like when to press, where to block the passing lane, like all these little things that sometimes you don't even think about, but then after 6 months, I remember coming back to the U23s in the summer, and I just immediately knew like the steps I had taken in such a short time being under him.
Hey, did you give him a call and say, hey, just so you know, I came back to the Rapids, play a couple seasons, then I'll be ready for Crystal Palace. You know what I mean? Or
No,
he might be gone by that time. He's done really well.
Yeah, he's done a great job. He's a great coach.
All right, Paxton, last question before we let you go. This is the tradition here. Call it what you want. Your favorite jersey swap story. Maybe you changed with one of your teammates at Eintracht. You had Omar Mamouche, you had Ekatike. I mean, you had guys you could do it there, or maybe there was someone you played against, got the jersey, maybe the national team level. What's your best jersey swap story?
No, like you said, I have a lot from Frankfurt. Like I have a cool Japan jersey from Daichi Kamada, Kolomwani. Nice. Yeah, Egyptian Marmouche jersey. But my favorite one is my brother. When I played, it's just like, it's cool. When I played against him at Berlin, we were both on the field at the same time. And then after we came in and changed jerseys, it's just, that's like uncomparable.
Very cool.
The Aaronson brothers coming
together. That's a great one. Your parents must love that one.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. They will.
Yeah. Paxton, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us. We wish you the best of luck with the Colorado Rapids here in the stretch run of MLS, and hopefully we'll have you back on the show very, very soon. Paxten Aaronson, everybody.
You guys, appreciate it.
I can't believe you told Chuck he's faster than Jack McGlynn. I can't believe he said it.
20 yards. 20 yards.
Chuck,
20 yards.
Let's talk about that. How are you feeling when you got that answer? Got to be feeling pretty good.
You know, my heart's filled. You know what I mean?
Wow, Chuck's been on a roller coaster. He was hot. He lost all of his peace, and now he's back to being.
I've calmed down. I feel pretty good. But I mean, the questions still remain, right? With this roster for the U.S. men's national team. But I think what we learned about Paxton is he's a great kid. He has matured, and so now I hope he just takes this opportunity of the Rapids and runs with it. And so if he can deliver, he's going to get called in. He's a great kid. And he also, I love the fact that he had Glasner, right? Oli Glasner and brought the fact that he really helped him improve as a player.
Yeah, there seems to be a nice awareness that he has, a self-awareness tones about what he wants to work on, where he feels like his best position is, where he thinks he can help the Rapids in particular. and where he believes he needs to grow. That speaks highly of him being a student of the game. And I feel like if you're a student of the game, your potential is limitless. If you feel like you've already got it all figured
100%.
out, there's clearly a ceiling.
Yeah, look, and we always, when we get young kids on, like I've been interviewing, for about 12 or 13 years now. And anytime you hear young kids, you're like, oh, you get a little bit nervous because you don't know how it's going to go. He was really polished, man. Like he clearly was ready for everything, and not that we prepped him, but he was ready. He's confident in what he's doing. He clearly is confident in his game that he can get better and get to the national team. And this is the step. And we always talk about pathways, right? And I saw everything online. I was amazed at how people reacted to this. He seemed pretty clear that this was the best thing to do for the next step of his career, right? That doesn't mean he's not going to end up in Europe in 4 or 5 years' time, or even less. But I got the impression, Jimmy and Chuck, that he thinks this is absolutely the move to make to get him where he wants to go.
You know what would be cool is if the perception could start to change that, hey, I went over to Europe. Let's use Paxten as an example. Goes to Europe, goes through the grind of that, tries to break into the first team at Eintracht. It doesn't work out, goes on loan, comes back. Hey, good opportunity to go to MLS. Maybe I'll be there for a couple of years, and then I can go remake the move back to Europe.
How many players has that happened to?
I don't think there's that many, right? So I like that there's a potential value there or a new pathway that can be built where that's just accepted as normal. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right, Jimmy.
Jimmy, he just pulled the plug. He hit something underneath the desk, and the plug just came out. I've been there before.
No, I think as soon as you went on that take, that Des said, "You're out of here. Get it. You're out." Come in with that. No, but think about where guys are. Like I look at Georgia Mihailovic, right, and he's replacing Georgia Mihailovic, but he went to AZ Alkmaar to try and make that step, and it didn't work out. So he came back and did what Paxten is. He was the guy at Colorado, then moved, and now he just traded to TFC. But I have the sense that when you make this type of move, you could see it being long term. Like, not that you're necessarily canceling out going back to Europe, but in my mind, when you make this move, you are absolutely okay being with an MLS for the rest of your career, and that's fine. I mean, for him, I think he got a good picture of seeing the top level and the demands of that, and then it's just how does he continue to evolve.
But I got out of it, Chuck, that he did a little bit of studying before this move. He said he came back, he went to Frankfurt, had conversations with the club. They told him that he got the sense that they weren't going to be able to give him the minutes that he was looking for, right? There will be some people that go, well, you got to fight for the minutes. I get that argument too. But maybe he didn't see that the fight
was worth it,
was a fair one for him. That maybe what he got out of it was, I'm so far away from getting where I want to be. Because if you make that move, you're looking at it going, okay, there's 1 or 2 guys ahead of me. One guy's getting older. I don't know the whole situation there, but one guy's getting older. I think in a year he's going to be gone. Then I'm fighting with one guy who I think I'm better with. But if you look at it and go, I'm 3 or 4. Welcome back, Jimmy. I'm 3 or 4 guys down the list. Then you're like, maybe it's not worth the fight right now because I'm never going to get to where I want to be. And then you make the move. But I mean, I just got the impression that he feels confident that this is going to get him where he wants to go. And again, everyone's pathway is different. Money aside, I want to take that out of the conversation because, it plays a role, but I'm just looking at it from a sporting side. And it sounds like he does want to get back to the national team and he thinks Colorado can get him there.
Okay. So last part of the conversation before we go, let's talk Leagues Cup. The semifinals happened last night. Inter Miami hosted Orlando City. The Galaxy hosted Seattle Sounders. Inter Miami needed to score some goals very, very late. Lionel Messi had 2 in the last 15 minutes, ended up winning 3-1. The second goal from Messi that he scored, absolutely ridiculous. Just slaloming through the Orlando defense. There was a red card, felt a little bit questionable, the whole penalty. I don't know what you guys think about that, but Inter Miami now into the final. They're going to try to win their second ever Leagues Cup. And the Galaxy lost at home. Hey, cue the circus music anytime I watch the Galaxy defenders play. I mean, it's ridiculous. The types of goals the Galaxy are giving up. Seattle Sounders win this game 2-0. I'm all for Inter Miami versus Seattle in the final. I think that's going to be a hell of a good 90 minutes. Yeah, I thought the Galaxy kind of shot themselves in the foot. Orlando City, a little bit of hard luck. But then, of course, they got messied at the end.
I agree with you. We got a good final. And coincidentally, right, it's two MLS teams, no Liga MX teams in sight. And, again, back-to-back years of Leagues Cup, you're saying typically Mexican teams dominate. And that's you're playing in North America, you're playing away from home. Let's see what this competition looks like when it's played in Mexico. I think that's how I would love to see the evolution of this competition. But there's this comment from Hugh Keane. We're not wanting the best players. We want the best team. Charlie only wants the best players. We're talking about the national team, Hugh.
Triggering him
the national team is about the best players, making the best team out of the best players. This isn't a club team where you can bring in guys that you say, they're maybe not the best players, but we can develop them over time. This is the best of the best. This is a World Cup that is a once in a generational moment. There is no room for, hey, we're going to bring in subpar players because they make a great team. That's not what the national team is. The whole reason you go out and get a Pochettino is to make sure that he can get the best out of the best players and make something, make them into a team that can compete like a Morocco in the 2022 World Cup, make an incredible semifinal run. That's what you're hoping when you get a top coach like a Pochettino. But right now we're still in the baby phase, the testing phase, the experimental phase. And I think we should be past that.
Everybody in the comments right now, we had him in a good spot. Chuck was back. He was relaxed. We
had a better spot.
And now he's back and triggered again. I thought we were all in this together. We wanted to ease.
But to that point, in general, look at him. He was look how calm
Chuck.
He looks.
For everybody watching on YouTube, look how Chuck looks like he just got finished on the porta potty at Yellowstone National Park.
I just walked out of there. I said, who
walked out Wow, he's looking at the roster that just dropped.
Oh man, Ivan did me dirty.
Wow.
Charlie's smelling the roster. Okay. Let's leave it up. Let's get into predictions. Leagues Cup finals happening in Seattle on Sunday night. So Seattle versus Inter Miami. This should be a great game. Make sure you make some time for it. Predictions. What are we saying, Tones? Who do you like in this final between Messi and Messi versus Brian Schmetzer?
Amazing what Brian Schmetzer, we keep saying, amazing what he's done with this group with all of these injuries. And in Seattle, so that place is going to be packed Sunday night, probably, right?
Yeah, it'll be packed.
No Rusnak still back.
Yeah, but Dwayne's son, De Rosario, he's been fantastic. He's been so good.
Yeah, he could give this Inter Miami defense some fits, man. And Pedro de la Vega's playing well. I feel like there's still a Messi factor / call in this final that
has Messi ever lost the final? He's lost a World Cup final. I was there. I should know that one. And he lost. What am I saying? He lost a couple of Copa America finals too. I'm just saying at the club level, has he lost the final?
Copa America, he lost twice in a row, right?
Those are national teams. But has he lost at the club level? I don't know if he has.
I don't know.
Somebody check that for me. Stat.
I mean,
he lost in the Open Cup. Did they lose in the Open Cup final? Didn't they lose?
He wasn't playing. He wasn't playing.
He didn't play. That he played. Anyway, sorry to stump everybody here at the end of the show.
You're asking me for a prediction. I'm gonna go Inter Miami in this one. I want to see Seattle win this one, but I just missing the players. I just wonder when it's going to catch up to them. It hasn't caught up to them yet. So maybe I'll kick myself on Tuesday for picking Inter Miami, but I'm going to go Inter Miami.
Okay, Chuck, where are you?
Yeah, I mean the quality that Inter Miami have to win games.
Their defending is so bad.
I know, but
as well. The goalkeeper start.
They make up with it though. When you have a Messi who can have this moment of brilliance on a free kick, let alone throughout the run of play, and just the IQ in those big moments. We're talking about guys who have won some major competitions. it shows through. It really, I think, in these moments against the Seattle Sounders, I know they're going to be playing with passion, and they've had an incredible run. But I'm not counting out Inter Miami in a final.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Okay, Messi did for sure lose the Copa del Rey final in 2014 against Real Madrid. That's the one where Gareth
Who are you
Bale.
picking, Jimmy?
I'm going Inter Miami. I think they're going to do it though.
Hey,
Yeah.
how about the third place game?
Why?
Although
The third place game though, what's at
the
stake?
qualifier,
It's a qualifier for the CONCACAF Champions Cup, so there's still a little juice on that. But yeah, I a good laugh on that third place game between the Galaxy and Orlando City. I'll go Orlando City because did you see the Galaxy defenders yesterday? All right, that's it. We're calling it a show. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thank you to Paxten Aaronson for joining us. We wish him the very best. Everybody, thanks for hanging out with us. If you're watching live, hit like and subscribe. All that good stuff for the Gloss America YouTube channel. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on the other side of it. Later.